Welcome to I Heart Geek.
And welcome to another episode of I Heart Geek. Courtney, are you trying to take that from me?
Do it as good as Blythe does.
No, he's got this like weird freaky thing and he talks like after I'm done talking.
Does.
Well, no, because he's doing the Bruce Lee, overdub.
Yeah, Japanese
Yeah.
overdub.
It's like the Japanese anime thing. It's very cool.
So we'll stop trying then is what we're saying there, Christina. Courtney, I'm sorry. We have so many people on screen right now.
I'm never going to give up and I'm never going to surrender.
Never give up, never surrender.
Wow.
You're
Wrong
welcome.
movie, guys. Wrong movie. We're talking Tron.
Sorry.
Tron. So we got to use Tron references. Like, wow, I'm tired and getting bored by this movie. Oh,
Fight
no.
for the users.
Oh, it's going to be a fun show.
Them's
People are gonna be
fighting
mad
words,
at me.
dude.
People are going to be mad at me in this episode.
Before this is over, you will be de-resed, my friend.
Thank
I'm in.
you.
I'm in.
Let's see, where's the end of line button for that?
So let's introduce the screen. First off, we have Miss Courtney. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you guys today?
Just fine. I heard you just woke up.
I did. Well, I've been awake for 45 minutes now.
Oh, that's-
it's about me too. Yep.
That's an
Accomplishments.
eternity.
And I would just like to point out that I'm this perky without coffee. You're all welcome.
And how many millicycles is this? Does anybody know?
3.
3.
I'm
Okay.
just making stuff up.
I don't think there was a direct unit of measure there. Okay, and then we have Miss Cheeky Chi. I think have we decided on a nickname for you? I'm still going to
Yes,
call you
what do you mean?
Christina, but yeah.
Yep.
You like her.
That's it, huh? That's all we get. That's all we get out of you.
I have been up since 3:30 because
That's
the
anger.
No, I was because the El Sposo couldn't find his work clothes, so we had the bedroom lights on, and then the dogs hypered up. So
Sounds like a good day.
the
I
end of
am
the
so
line
sorry for
him.
your loss.
I don't know where I'm supposed to go with that.
Sounds like 11 o'clock p.m. every night for me. But yeah, I got you.
Next up, we have Mr. PB and Jason. How are you doing today, sir?
Good, wonderful. Yes, no, yes, I'm doing very well. Thank you.
For all the listeners
Wow.
out there, he's bit today.
I'm bit. Yeah, you better be cautious bagging on this movie, Dub. I'm just gonna tell you right now.
It's a movie.
You're gonna catch
Unified
hostility
Front.
from more than just the ladies here.
I am completely
Start
okay
bagging
with
on
that.
Tron.
I'm completely okay with it. I'll just sleep through it like I slept through the movie. And then finally, we have Miss Satomi. How are you doing today?
I'm good.
It's like me watching Never Ending
That's
Story.
so much
You're
anger.
Scott
That's awesome.
Oh, it's just.
Well, that's
I
like
mean,
me
the
reading any
temperature in
Green
this room.
Lantern book. So it's-
Oh,
Pilgrim. How do I feel about Scott Pilgrim?
Eh,
Yeah.
You're wrong.
boys, you're both pretty. You're both.
Speaking of pretty, you did this whole makeup thing today.
Oh, I was challenged by our Miss Christina. What are you going by now? The Cheeky Chi? Miss Cheeky Chi.
That's got to change. Every week, that's going to change.
Probably.
So today she's the Cheeky Chi.
Own it.
I was challenged by our Miss Christina to Cora it up a little bit. So
Yes.
this is as close as I could get with what was already in my closet. So we got rocking some eye makeup and
And a
I
boob window.
know, man.
You should
Nice
see.
clothes.
You should watch this on video because it's definitely different.
I mean, Satomi, you're already gorgeous. Now you're like
Oh, honey.
distractingly gorgeous. How am
Oh,
I
I'm sorry.
concentrate on the show?
there you go.
There you go.
Oh.
Talk to the hand.
Talk to the
Excellent.
hand.
Yeah, wonderful.
Okay, so we are discussing all things Tron today. We are going with
Woo!
Tron the original, the 1984,
Two.
82. Yeah, old. And then we will be talking. If anybody's watched the animated series,
Uprising.
I did. Uprising.
Uprising.
Yep. And then we will be discussing the far superior Tron Legacy, the movie that is better than anything else we just mentioned.
The movie that relies on all the CGI. Got it.
Yeah, the upgraded.
can't say that.
The
You
upgraded
cannot-
graphics.
The only thing that the original Tron sold was this cutting edge graphics that they did, which was cool. I will give you that. I still
Well,
want
and
one
the
of the
concept
motorcycles.
of going into the computer because
Yes.
Yeah.
nothing like that had ever occurred.
Yeah,
before.
Tron Legacy.
The
Tron
plot was
Legacy
cool.
has. Tron Legacy is an upgrade. It's, upgraded graphics.
Yeah.
That's why.
And I like the story.
That's it.
And I think the
Eh,
artificial intelligence people was interesting. We'll get to that. Okay, so let's talk the original Tron. We all have different places that we caught on to Tron in the first place. Mine was, I think I was like 9 or 10, and it was a church lock-in overnight thing. And they
Well,
played
that
Tron,
explains it.
and it
You were
just
forced to
What
watch
did you
it.
it never
do?
really
What did
did
you do?
anything. It's just And then I rewatched it again yesterday. And okay, I don't want people throwing things at me, so I'll just leave it at that. What
You're
about
on the
you?
other side of a computer screen. We can't throw things at you.
Well, you might hack me. I don't know.
Ver-
You
verbal
might
barbs.
derez me into the computer or something. I don't know.
That might be a
It's
possibility.
a
That
Mac. It'll
speaker
do
looks like a
anything.
laser behind you.
It does. It does.
Now I'm nervous. Okay, Courtney, what is your first experience with Tron?
To be honest, I can't remember 100%, but I believe we first watched, and I say we being my cousins and I, who I've mentioned before as my fellow sci-fi dorks. I believe we watched it at my grandma's because she had HBO and none of the rest of us did.
Ooh,
And so we watched. I know.
so
it was
you were
cool.
over there at 3 a.m. I'm just saying.
Well, it was. We would go spend Christmas, or not Christmas, but we would so in summertime at my grandma's in Ohio, and then so like we'd watch a movie and then we get kicked out of the house and go play, and we usually would play that movie.
Okay,
It was always Star Wars, but every once in a while it was Tron. So I'm pretty sure that's where I first saw it.
okay, Christina.
I was 13 and I saw it in the theaters probably 7 or 8 times.
You so
And
dated yourself. That's
I so
awesome.
dated. Well, I'm my best company. Of course, I'm going to date myself. Anyway,
Oh, Christina!
I think
like it.
Oh wow.
I think there was a part of like I wasn't supposed to go see it at 13 because I had pretty strict parents. So there was also the thrill that I literally snuck out like 7
Did
times
something
to
naughty.
see it. And it was just I was that age where computers were just coming out and I was excited about them and it thrilled me and I probably would have done just about anything to get inside a computer at that point at 13.
Interesting. Jason.
I was also 13 and saw it in the theater. And Tron is one of those movies that sits right in that period of time with Star Wars, Raiders, Empire Strikes Back. It's one of those big, big movies for me. As far as a childhood staple, yeah, big. I only saw it one time in the theater. I didn't do the 8-time sneak in. But since then, on all the various ways of viewing it through media, I've probably seen it 300-400 times, to be honest.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
It was the first thing I
it's-
watched on Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's one of my childhood movies. Drawing things like you draw X-wings, snow speeders, and recognizers. Okay,
Yep.
basically that's it. That's one of the things. So
Or
Tron
light cycles.
or light cycles.
Light
Oh,
cycles.
yeah, remind me
Oh,
what
those
is a
are-
recognizer? That's
The
the
thing with
little
feet.
little
Thing with the
square
feet.
thing.
Thing with the feet.
Okay,
It's
gotcha.
the
Yeah,
Tron
it looks
version
like
of
a-
the AT-AT.
Okay,
Yeah,
Kind of,
fair
yeah,
it
enough.
looks like a weird magnet.
Okay, I know what
Um,
you're talking about now. It took me a second.
Yeah, so yeah, Tron's big for me. I love it. And I think I just watched it a week ago. So yes,
Okay.
I love it.
Satomi.
I honestly don't remember when I watched it. I know it was kind of ubiquitous in my childhood. And by the way, Christina, I'm thinking about your really strict parents. It's like, yeah, because of all of the sex, drugs, and rock and roll in the film, that they wouldn't let you see it. I'm puzzled because it's
They were
It's-
very anti-technology at first.
okay.
At first.
I know
All
our
right.
parents. Yep.
You're coming from your Luddite roots. But I mean, it was, I just remember it being of something that I loved, and I conceptually, because that technology was still so new, the idea that you could transport into the world of the games, and that in the games, those little creatures actually have opinions and have lives, and
Yeah.
I was so fascinated by that. And of course, all of the video game spin-offs that came out of
Oh
that,
heck yeah. Mhm.
which You know, the light cycles I was great at. Everything
I love
else
the light
I
cycles.
sucked at. The recognizer stuff I sucked at. So
Well, it's
never
just
made it far.
something really interesting about this movie. I don't know if anybody was aware. This movie was a box office flop.
Mhm.
However, the video game industry more than made up, and they, I believe, quadrupled the money the movie made
Holy
playing
smokes.
those
Yep.
arcade games.
I believe it.
That's there was definitely some when I watched this yesterday. There was some huge nostalgia because it had the arcade and all that. I missed that so much.
Oh yeah, real genuine
Oh, yeah.
arcades. Oh, yeah.
Arcade are
Awesome.
not what we have in Vegas because those are like crappy 20-year-old games. Just that you go into that dank pit.
Yeah, the 80s
of
arcade.
stink,
With the
Except
thumping
you-
music.
When you watch
Yeah.
Wreck-It Ralph,
Yeah.
the arcade
Exactly.
and Wreck-It Ralph.
Well, yeah, even in the Tron movie itself, when they're chasing them, it's the Pac-Man game right on the screen.
It really is.
And
Actually.
and it cracks me up.
Yeah, Pac-Man in the back. Yeah, in the background. Right.
Yeah, and then the other thing that I think was really, other than the visuals, and I'm going to give this movie crap, but the visuals were way ahead of their time. It was the first computer-generated movie per se.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think they made a couple of bad choices, but we'll get to that later. However, I think one of the great choices they made was the music, and it really did have that digital feel. Now, it was done by
Wendy Carlos.
Wendy Carlos, who also did a couple of movies you might have seen, like The Clockwork Orange,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and The Shining.
Well,
So
I think
you could definitely
think-
feel that.
just the music across the board for both films.
Oh yeah, Daft Punk doing the second.
They
mean-
did Daft Punk for the second.
Honestly, Tron Legacy, I could sit down and listen to that whole score. As soon as it starts, it's like the you get that like tremor in your butt.
Mhm.
Yes.
Because it's so just
Yeah.
energizing and exciting, and the bass in there is just and the chord progressions. It's really Daft Punk.
Yeah.
Really
Knocked it out
tore
of
it
the
up.
And
Yeah,
true
really
story,
did.
that was the last CD that I bought.
Really?
Yep,
It's funny.
and it was transferred
Cool.
onto my computer.
Not
shortly
album, but
after.
CD. Yeah.
CD. Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
yeah,
don't
they
think-
joke and say that it's is it a really great movie or is it a really phenomenal 2-hour Daft Punk video?
Yes. Yes.
You know, that's a good yes.
But
The
yeah, no,
answer
it's
is
on our
yes.
we have 2 specific road trip playlists, and one of them is Daft Punk and the other one is Two Steps from Hell, which has that epic feel too.
Mhm.
And there's certain songs that Sean has to be like, slow down, slow down, slow down. Because I don't even think about it, because I have a Chrysler 200. It's 2016 anniversary edition, and I've ordered the Tron
Smell you.
seats so they light up.
Oh,
And when Sean said I can't do it till I pay it off. I've got another year, but I'm doing the Tron effects on it because it's just the
cool.
shape of that car, and it's granite, so it's a dark gray,
Mm.
and so the shape of that car just really kind of fits that feel from Tron,
Yeah.
and so and I am huge Tron nerd. So.
Well, the original Tron did have that inspiration for a lot of what we see going forward, as far as the when it went away from the silver outfits that everyone was supposed to wear in the future to kind of what Tron was, and that's really where I think we've all taken our visual cue of what the future is supposed to look like. It looks like Tron.
Yes.
It doesn't look like The Day the Earth Stood Still anymore.
right. Well,
So,
it's very much like
very
how
groundbreaking.
Apple sort of recreated the way that we visualize what a computer's supposed to look like. Tron conceptually defined a lot of what we see today.
Yeah.
And you really see it in the fact that so many of the elements from the first film are still woven into the second film and
Mhm.
still look so cool.
Yeah. No, visually, this movie is fantastic. That's all I'm going to go. I'm not going to talk about the story because I don't think it's particularly great. However, I think the visual effects was so groundbreaking, and I get why people have such a reverence for this movie.
The thing about the story, though, was I had read that the critics were annoyed that it was kind of a confusing story, and I'm like,
I don't think it was confusing.
No.
no, it's pretty
No.
easily digestible. I mean, might be oversimplified in
Yeah.
some ways, but No, it was very. It's pretty good versus evil.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
literally good
The
versus
good guys.
evil.
The good guys go get the bad guys.
Mhm.
Although there's a
And
massive religious component to the whole thing.
yes, definitely.
Because of master control.
Users, yeah, the users and the master
Users
control
and
and
master
everything.
control, all of it, yeah.
Then they were trying to get rid of all the religious zealots in the game.
Right,
Mhm.
exactly.
It-
And another thing about that movie that doesn't get as the play that it should is that the cast for the first Tron had some serious players in it.
Oh my
I
god!
mean, we had Jeff
At
Bridges,
least two. Yeah.
we had Bruce Boxleitner, we had
Mhm.
David Warner, who is like my hero. He was fresh off of Time Bandits, doing that movie, and
He was the old guy, right?
he was
Sark.
Stark.
Okay.
No,
and
Barnard
Cindy-
Hughes. Barnard Hughes was the old guy.
Yeah, and Cindy Morgan.
Cindy
I mean,
Morgan.
she didn't
yes.
do a lot, but she was Lacey Underall in
Yeah,
Ken
she was-
Shack.
And she
Yeah.
was
Oh, and
good.
he's also Sark is also the voice of Master Control.
voice
Yep,
uncredited
yes.
voice of Mass
Yep.
Control.
Yeah, he's Master Control.
That makes sense,
and
actually.
the guy,
Mhm.
interestingly enough, the guy who played Ram, for the longest time, I thought Ram was Amadeus. Tom Hulce, is that his name?
Tom
actor?
Hulce.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Tom Hulce. I thought it was him, but it's not. It's the guy who played Billy the Kid in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Oh, no way!
Yeah.
I love when we play Connect the
Good
Dots.
call.
This is actually one of my
Right.
favorite things.
Well,
with these.
Mhm.
And also the guy who played Chrome is one of those. He's one of those, and I'm so sorry. I would have to look him up and try to track him down what his name was. But he's one of those bit actors who's done like a
lot.
million things, and
Yeah.
he's still working.
He has more than
And-
80 credits.
Oh, you're talking
Yeah.
about the when he played the paddleball game with
Peter
Flynn.
Jurassic.
Yeah, Peter Jurassic. He was in Babylon 5.
He's been in like everything. If you
Yeah, he's
look-
literally in tons of stuff.
Yeah, Peter Jurassic, big name, yes.
So,
And had a big role in Babylon 5, if you guys saw that movie.
oh, I
that
didn't
show.
know that.
He's
Yeah, he
also
was
in
in-
Hill Street Blues.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like a lot of Hill Street Blues.
Well, then the old guy I was talking about, who I think was supposed to be a stand-in for the Waz, would be Bernard Hughes, which I think he was supposed to be that kind of the guy that's still doing the work, and
Lot.
the other guy that makes all the money. He was in The Lost Boys, which
Oh, he was in tons
Really?
He's in a
That's
lot of
Bernard
stuff too.
Hughes,
Who
yeah.
He's
was
in
he
that's
in
the one
Lost
I care
Boys?
about. He was the grandpa.
You're so funny.
Oh my god!
Which, I
I
love
love
watching
that
that.
Blew
movie.
our
white
mind.
one.
We
Yeah,
have to
that-
do that movie. I love that movie. Okay.
That just
As
made a
we go
list
on.
somewhere.
Oh, it's been on my list, girl.
Now, I think that the most difficult thing for me to accept visually was a definite choice they made, which was the black and white in the computer. And I think that's what really, just like I believe the Superman was better when they took the sepia tone off, I think this would have been better without the black and white effect. It was distracting, and it made it feel. That's what
Backlit
Dave.
animation.
Huh? No, the
Backlit
backlight's
animation?
cool. The backlig's
You're
cool. but
talking
black
about the
and white-
blue light. The blue light.
No, I'm
effect.
talking about everyone at the anybody that was quote unquote a person was black and white in the computer, and that it really bothered me. And I don't know if it's just a visual strain or what.
See, I liked it because I think it was important to establish the otherness of the space, and
Mhm.
actually, to me, in the overarching story of both films, it kind of works because it now gives it that feeling of being back then when the technology was not as developed, and now being in Tron Legacy, how like I know we're not talking about Legacy yet, but just seeing that progress and how there's now more skin tone and there's
Yeah,
Yeah.
more realism, because you can even see it in our video games. It's the same thing.
Yeah, the other thing
Yeah.
about the original Tron is a lot of vector graphic type approaches, and again, that's a lot of video games at the time, the asteroids and the
Can you
various
go
vector.
into a little bit can you define vector graphics for our listeners?
lines.
The,
Lots of
the
lines.
the best layman's way I could do it is lines, line graphics, like in games like Asteroids, Space Wars. I think
Galaga.
it's Star
Anything
Tempest,
that was
Tempest.
on the Atari, the original
Star
Atari.
Wars, Super Star Wars game. Yeah.
Well-
Basically a lot of like lines, more outlines.
Yeah.
Outlines kind of colored or black and white outlines made up all the shapes.
And they used Space Invaders as the kind of as the inspiration, the basis for being in the computer.
Yeah,
And like so Tommy said, nowadays I mean, we have computers that fit in the palm of our hands. So I mean, I think for the time, and I mean, I get that I get that it probably wasn't your favorite thing, Dub, but I think that was why.
Yeah.
It's because they couldn't. I probably their imaginations couldn't be
Mhm.
well beyond what they could do in the computer
Yeah.
graphics realm at that time.
No,
Whereas
again,
now we have like a ton more freedom with it.
yeah. Again, it's the visuals I have super amount of respect for because it was what it was. I thought the black and white was the bad choice, and I didn't like the story.
Right.
But I have nothing but respect for what they did because it was so far ahead of the time, and they did it on a computer with what 2 megs of RAM. That's it.
Yeah, and if
We
That would
have
have
more-
fit in somebody. Would have
It
fit
takes
in the
more than that to
entirety
do
of
the
somebody's
show.
house.
It takes
Right.
more than that to do this show.
And I tell you what, as beautiful as Legacy is, and I'm actually not as big a fan of Legacy as the original, for a number of reasons. But as beautiful as Legacy is, I will give it that. The light cycles, as fancier and smoother as they were in Legacy, they were not as cool as the ones in Tron. They were not as cool as the game on the grid with the 90-degree turns. That was just
I think that's your
coolest
nostalgia
thing
talking.
ever. No, it's not. It's the coolest thing ever. And that was one of my biggest disappointments in Legacy was the light cycle battle, even though it was multi-leveled and all that stuff. It took away the 90-degree
I loved
turns.
it.
And I was so mad about that. I'm like, why would you take away what made the light cycle battle so unique?
Well, and I
Those-
think
those-
it makes a difference too, like watching it in the theater versus watching it on a TV or even a big screen TV. In that, and nowadays even theaters have all those safety lights and stuff. But when we watched it, like that was a black theater, and so the black and white stood out starkly prominent in a positive way, and it really made the rest of the colors and the graphics just pop.
Yeah, totally.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah. Which and another thing, being the last time we did watch it, it's a lot harder to forgive everything when you're seeing it in high def. When you're watching it on the VHS or the analog that you originally watched it on, it's a lot more forgiving on everything because like when it has the glitches on there, which was an accident for them, by the way, when the with their suits that are glitching a little bit.
Mhm.
To me, I like that because it felt more early 80s computer. But it's not as sharp and as noticeable. So it's more of a natural thing, I think, with the analog. If that makes sense to anybody.
Yeah, no, I get that. I don't know. I mean, like again, Legacy to me was like it was certainly an eye candy. I mean, it was great,
Yeah.
but to me, it was like I watched Legacy, and I left Legacy kind of being like, all right.
I think you have to
That's a
look at
movie
them.
I've watched more than once. I've watched it
Well,
several times. I've enjoyed
the
it.
way that I look at both of them is this way: is you have the original and then you have Legacy, and they do actually fit together in the terms of you think that they're almost 20 or 30 years apart.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the way that I approach it is okay. You have Tron, which was cutting edge because that's what computers were in 1982.
Mhm.
It's not going to be this. The light cycles aren't going to be the same in
Oh, right.
Legacy because of all of the advances in the computers,
Mhm.
computer technology that brings us to Legacy. So I mean, it's the same thing with the suits, and it's the same thing with the world itself. Because we have Zeus's nightclub, stuff
Mhm.
that you
The
couldn't
end of Line Club.
truly couldn't imagine.
Or like the clouds. That
Inside.
was actually one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I
That
mean, I think
2D cloud.
Mhm.
approaching it as going, okay, well, this is what computers were like in 1982. Look how far we've come,
Mhm.
and the life outside the computer it advances, the life inside the computer advances.
Which makes sense. I mean, I don't disagree with that. It does
Yeah,
make
it's a way
sense.
to
It just didn't impress me all that much. I mean, again, it was cool, and some of the ideas of Legacy, like again bringing back Clue, a new version of Clue, and having to be the villain.
I thought that was brilliant.
Where
Yeah.
he was the hacking program in Tron, who was captured.
Or rather, the same version of Clue who's just been so stuck in that past that he can't divert from his programming.
From his
Well,
programming, yeah.
they did definitely lay the seeds for the
Well, the
evils
first
of
clue was
artificial
destroyed.
intelligence.
But yeah,
But it was the evils
Oh,
of
that's right,
artificial
you're right.
intelligence. Yeah.
the first
Yeah.
clue was
The first clue was
by
destroyed,
Master
But it's
Control.
the
right in the
same.
beginning.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
but
an
he
upgraded clue.
recreated him. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you did.
And you have to also realize that there's a set time frame between when he escaped from the original Tron to when he got trapped back in there. He had a whole
20
life
years.
in there. He had a child, he had, so he was continually working on advancing computer programs and ideas and thoughts. So I think that between the Tron Uprising and Legacy, there's this evolutionary arc that's really great to follow. And we actually spent last weekend, blacked out the curtains. We started with the beginning over the weekend. We did it all.
Nice.
I did like
Nice.
Uprising. I thought Uprising was great.
And
I like
Uprising
Well,
fits
let's-
really well.
Let's
with
move to the Uprising thing. So I haven't watched any of this. Can you guys let me know kind of what is the Uprising? What is the
Uprising
story
is
of it?
between Tron and Legacy. It is the story of basically Tron is trying to find the next Tron after his battle with Clue.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a really great arc, and it's Elijah Wood and Bruce Bockleitner again. So
He's in
back to
everything,
Tron.
isn't he?
he's in the video games. He is the one media or the one constant in all the media.
He actually wasn't
media.
supposed to be in Legacy.
Yeah.
Really, I'm glad they I'm
And-
glad they did.
Well,
Yeah.
fans pitched a fit.
Yep.
Because how can you have a Tron movie
without Alan
Without
Bradley.
without
and
Tron?
I'm looking for Mrs. King, but
So they added it
Right.
I
back.
just dated
Oh,
myself on that one.
right. So
That's the only place that most people will know him from is Scarecrow and Mrs. King.
Speaking of Scarecrow.
Flying
boy.
Babylon, Flying
Legacy,
Babylon
but
5.
anyway, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, it was, I think that you have to really kind of watch them all to really appreciate the entire storyline. But Uprising, I think that the animation is done really, really well. I think the storyline is brilliant.
And again, good cast. You had Elijah Wood
cast.
as Beck. You had Lance Hendrickson
Yep.
as one of the villains, and he's so good in animation or regular. I mean, he's just Uprising was impressed me. I
Paul
enjoyed
Rubens. I
Uprising.
forgot Paul Rubens was in that.
Yeah, and it shows a very human side of Tron.
Mhm.
That you are surprised by, and I really loved that in Uprising.
Did it cover his words escape me? His going to the dark side.
Change into Rinsler.
Yeah, getting
yeah, there's-
reprogrammed.
Is it reprogrammed or did he get?
Or
I'm
did he
still looking for the word corrupted?
sentience?
His corruption. Thank
I
you.
think he got sentience, and that's the problem.
Oh.
Well,
Tron,
Clue reprogrammed him.
Yep.
That's
Okay.
into
Okay.
Rinsler.
in
And
the
in Legacy. I don't remember Christina did in the Uprising. Did they show his reprogramming into Rinsler?
They attempted, and then it kind of indicated they never did. They left it on a cliffhanger,
Okay.
and which really was frustrating to me. But you kind of knew where it was going.
Well, they were going to do another season, but it didn't
Yep.
get picked up.
I know, and
I
Yeah.
hate it when that happens.
You can watch this on Disney Plus, and just so you are aware of what kind of what you're getting into as far as the animation style, it's very that kind of semi-clunky CGI. Not bad, just that's the style that they went with, that they used in Clone Wars, and they used in Green Lantern, the animated series, and the Spider-Man, the MTV series that they did. It's kind of that same look. So I have to be warned when I'm going into watching one of those, because otherwise it really bothers me, that animation. If I know I'm getting into it, I'm okay with it. But if I'm expecting like really cool CGI type stuff, I'm like,
One
But
thing I
that's
read that
what
was
you're getting into.
One thing I read that was interesting in studying up for the show, one thing I didn't know was that actually Steve Lisberger, who was the director of the first Tron, did a 2-minute, I believe it was a 2-minute animation in 1976 featuring this computer warrior called Tron, who had 2 discs that they exploded on impact. And although in the original Tron only had the single disc and it didn't explode. When they got to Rinsler,
Yep.
Rinsler
Yeah,
had the
that's true.
2 discs
Right.
that exploded on impact. So that he was able to take his original idea that he had in the 2-minute animation showing this computer warrior and apply it to Rinsler, because although he didn't direct Legacy, he was the producer of Legacy.
Cool. Okay, so let's move on to the Tron Legacy, which really should have had a sequel. There was a third Tron written. It never happened because that's when, right about that time, is the time when there was a big purchase from Disney with Star Wars and stuff. So that it kind of went way far back on the.
Well,
the-
actually,
oh boy, you're one of those.
no.
Actually,
no, they had full intent of moving forward, but Tomorrowland did so bad
oh,
Yeah.
that he panicked and he pulled they pulled the reins back on the next Tron. It actually
Really?
was, yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Now there is a new third one planned.
I
It
hope
has been announced. I don't know if it's ever going to happen. As far as I know, the only person so far cast in it is Jared Leto.
does he have damaged on his
It
forehead?
doesn't
if he
say. There's no plot. No plot has been announced. No characters have been announced other than he's attached to the Tron 3.
No, to be
I think
fair,
they're hoping the Tron 3 will be ready once, because like they've had success with the light cycle ride at Shanghai Disney,
mhm.
and they're actually putting one in Disney World.
Well, then they'll definitely make another one.
Yeah, so they'll see. I mean, I think it'll be. How big of a success can the light cycle ride be
Oh my gosh.
at Disney World?
You literally just gave me chills.
Yeah,
I need a
it's-
cigarette.
It's like we're not getting one at Disneyland yet. I mean, maybe eventually,
I
but
hope
right
so.
now they're in the building processes of, because it's called I think it's just called the Tron Light Cycle Ride or
Yeah.
Race Light
Well-
Cycle or something, and they already have it at Shanghai Disney, and it's hugely popular.
When I was growing up and going to Disneyland, do y'all remember the People Mover?
Oh yeah,
Yes, I loved it.
Yes.
People
the
died
Tron
at the
theme.
People Mover.
Yep, and you would go through. The People Mover would take you through different rides in Tomorrowland, and one of the things it took you through was essentially a very large kind of warehouse-looking room where they
Mhm.
were promoting the new Tron ride that
Ouch.
never was. And I'm telling you, when my brother and I would go through that, every time we'd be like, "Oh, Tron ride! Oh my God, it's gonna be so cool!" So my childhood dreams are about to come true. So thank you for that, Courtney.
I will post.
Yeah, I remember the Tron. It was a solar sailor on the People Mover. They had the
the solar
bit of the solar salar
Yeah.
Yeah.
simulation through there. So
There
yes.
is somebody. There's a ride through on YouTube of it's called the Tron Light Cycle Power Run.
Easy for you to say.
I know,
No, not even a little.
Ugh. So I'll post it on the page for everybody to see once we drop this. It's the existing one in Shanghai Disney, and you can you get to
Is
ride
it
your
a-
own light cycle.
Is it a motion
Something like
ride like Star Tours?
You're on the
like
light
that?
cycle, so it's a lot. It sounds like it's a hybrid of, I don't know if everybody knows Pandora Flight
Mm.
Flight of Fantasy or whatever it is, because you literally ride your own light cycle. So you're leaning forward on the light cycle, and you're doing this power run through this track.
Oh my goodness.
So
Nice.
is it
Okay.
an actual track or is it the screen like Pandora?
It's a track.
Killer.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
quick
an
break.
actual track.
Quick break. We're going to cut into our commercial real quick. We will be right back.
Hello, our geek rock stars. I'm Satomi Hoffman with I Heart Geek, and we heart you. And I'm going to tell you about a way that you can heart us back. So here's the deal. I Heart Geek has just launched our Patreon page. This is a chance for you to help us with production costs and help us keep bringing these podcasts to you. Not a lot of people know it. We don't make any money making this podcast, but we do it because we heart geek, we heart bringing it to you, and we heart obsessing over the things that you heart. So how do you become involved? Super simple. There are 4 tiers of support. The first tier of support is only $3 a month, about the price of a cup of coffee if you don't go to Starbucks. And we will love you like we love Baby Yoda, except for Blythe, who doesn't feel the Baby Yoda love, which... So now tier 2 is $5 a month, which now we're talking like a drip coffee and a cookie. And for that, we'll display your name during the show and also put you in the end credits. Name recognition, y'all. Now tier 3, $10 a month. Now we're getting into the nitty gritty. We will actually take your suggestions and we will put them in the rotation of the show. So whatever you obsess about, which we already probably obsess about, we will obsess about on air. All right, now we're talking tier 4. We're talking the Triforce Excalibur Infinity Gauntlet level of subscription. $20 a month will get you as a regular rotational cast member on the show. We'll have you come on. We'll discuss the things that you heart, the things that we heart. We'll argue, we'll laugh, we'll have a great time. And you will have made I Heart Geek better for your subscription. And of course, you can tell all your friends, hey, haha, I'm on a podcast. So there you have it. 4 easy ways to help iHeartGeek become a listener-supported podcast, and you get something in return. We heart you, we thank you, we heart geek, and remember to keep on geeking on.
Okay, so we've talked about all things in the beginning, Tron. We've talked about Tron, Legacy, not Legacy, what's the other one? The cartoon?
Uprising.
Uprising.
Now let's talk about some of the ins and outs of my favorite of the series, which is Legacy. We kind of hit it a little bit. There's mixed feelings among the panel. It's all good. Some liked it more than others. I'm on the top of that list. I think Jason's at the bottom of that list. I think that reversed.
I didn't dislike it. I expected more, and I left a little bit wanting.
I don't know what else they could have given, and this isn't for argument's sake. This is I don't know what else they could. It feels like they gave a lot for that, and I feel like if anything was held back, it was definitely for a sequel side.
Maybe.
We didn't get to see the Clue big ending, which I think we all wanted to see. But I feel like that was definitely set up, and we wanted to see Quora in the real world too, that's going to be a really interesting.
Well, if you watch this, we have her in the real world
For about 2 seconds, yeah.
As portrayed by Satomi.
She went on Broadway.
We have our own Cora.
So, one of the things that was really interesting, do you guys remember the bartender?
Yes.
Which was Castor Zeus. That is Michael Sheen, who is the angel in Good Things.
Good Omens.
Good Omens.
He's in everything.
Sure.
Among a billion other
Yeah,
things.
he's
is one of
Tony
my
Blair
favorite actors.
in The Queen. He's the only actor who's played Tony Blair like 5 times.
He's in everything. I'm looking, and
Yeah.
he was in
He
The
is
Simpsons.
Exquisite.
Yeah,
He's also
Doctor
in a
Who.
really funny and help me ladies to remember the name of it. He's in a quarantine show with David Tennant about them trying to do a play. And everybody's in it. Everybody's
We
in
watched it. I watched because you told me to. I don't remember the name of it.
It's hilarious.
It's on Hulu now. You can watch it. We will definitely put that into the comments so that you guys can watch that. It's definitely worth it. And what I didn't know, he was in Underworld: Rise of the Lycans as Lucian, the head vampire, or head werewolf.
He's in everything.
That dude is diverse. Yeah. And when I saw him, though, I thought he was Loki. I'm like, is that Loki?
He does have a Tom Hiddleston kind of vibe in that. Yeah, he's he's one of those actors who you don't recognize him from role to role, which is what makes him so exquisite. Right. And Good Omens is one of my favorite things he's ever done. But okay.
Well, I love him as Tony Blair. His Tony Blair is so good in The Queen. It's just like watching Tony Blair.
Something I really appreciated about this second movie was the jumping off the grid. I think that was really, really fascinating. Because you always think, okay, well, we have so much memory, we have so much RAM. What's in this fictional world? What goes on at the end, at the other side of that, broken, or that very developed area?
I think I just figured it out, and that was you saying that kind of helped me out. Okay, what disappointed me about Legacy? It didn't look otherworldly enough. That's what I think bothered me the most about Legacy.
What part?
So when they escaped the grid, they were on a dirt road climbing up a canyon mountain, with a storm, and it's just like, okay, it's visually kind of cool, but I think Tron, the original, was so otherworldly, so not this world. And there were too many elements in Legacy that reminded me of things that you might, again, kind of like, not that you'd see in this world, but it just wasn't otherworldly enough for me. It didn't have that, this is inside a computer feel quite the same way that Tron did.
I
Well,
can
I
see that. It
agree.
might have been cool to have the undeveloped
Yeah.
areas either be like just black with, like a void with little
Yeah,
bits.
like more of a sense of it being in a computer instead of this alienscape. Again, it was a cool looking alienscape kind of thing, but
Yeah.
it didn't have that in the computer feel in the same
It
way.
felt like Mars to me, just kind of what you would think of from Mars. However, what I think they were going for on that of why is because you go into the whole I don't remember what they were called, but the accident or whatever, or the miracle.
ISOs?
Yeah, the
The
ISOs. So I think you had to have that natural-ish area to create quote unquote life.
I guess, yeah.
Otherwise, it
But
wouldn't make any sense because in a void, because what do these people eat? Because you have Flynn eating in the new movie and all that. He was basically the dude that understood computers, which I thought was a really good
And
choice
always the
to
dude.
play. He was
Always
the
I
dude.
feel like Jeff Bridges is just the dude.
He became
Yes.
the dude.
I think it's more of, I think there is
definitely
no
abides.
dude. There's just Jeff Bridges.
Well, that's who he was in this.
And I can see your point too, Dub, because the whole idea is that the computer has gotten smart enough to start creating its own
Life.
its own environments, its own life, and which is something that actually, to a certain extent, has happened because computers have created their own languages so that they can communicate with each other
Faster,
more
yeah.
efficiently.
Yeah.
So who knows what's going on in there? So yeah, I can honestly, I think both of you have valid points. You're both pretty. You're still both pretty.
You're so pretty. But that's what
there is a
ISO
reason I cover up. I'm just saying.
that's what an ISO is, and it's an isomorphic algorithm.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, a great example is if you look at cities 30 years ago, farmland is disappearing, things are growing and changing. So it's going to happen. I mean,
You're
so
pretty too. That's a great point.
Is that your new go-to? That's awesome.
I think so. If you got a great point, you're pretty.
I love it. But for me, I loved all of it. I mean, I just posted last Saturday, I just got my Tron piece to my geek sleeve. So I clearly have a deep love of Tron, and I can't really say there's a negative thing about any of them other than, I will say this briefly for the benefit of Dub. The original Tron, I think there was too much needless dialogue in some areas. Like, I don't care that Alan's friend wanted to get popcorn from his desk. That was just a waste of 30 seconds.
Mhm.
Oh, they did it because they wanted to show
that
because
was
he
Ram.
that was Ram.
Yeah, I know.
Even though it didn't look
I
like him
know,
at
but
all,
and
and
it
you
didn't
couldn't
even
tell.
get really
couldn't
close
tell.
to him. I know why they did it, but
Yeah.
but it's those little things that I just felt like they could have gone away with. But no, I loved Legacy. I love the original. I love Uprising. I've seen Legacy probably 14 times in the actual theater. Like,
Yeah. And going back, if you put the Legacy story into the original,
it
I'm
fits.
a much bigger fan.
Yeah.
As I said, and again, before y'all pelt me with downvotes or whatever, I definitely appreciate what Tron did, and I recognize how groundbreaking it is. It's just the story I think could have been better, and I think that was a problem with the early computer generated movies is they relied on these visuals that at the time were just mind-blowing, and they didn't pay attention to the story as much. I feel like Legacy paid a lot more attention to the story.
Yeah, it did. But another thing about Legacy again that I think was inferior. Now, I liked Jeff Bridges as the reprogrammed villainous Clue. Don't get me wrong. I thought he was an effective villain for sure. Do I think he was as effective a villain as the pair of Sark and then Master Control, who they kind of withheld what he looked like until the end when you saw that big swirling nightmare that was honestly quite
Yeah.
visually stunning and frightening when you're a kid, looking at that thing. And there was an impact of the Sark Master Control combination that I don't think was as effective with Clue, because there was no. I mean, you saw Clue soon as Sam Flynn went into the game world. There was Clue. You saw him. There was your villain.
See, and I loved that. I loved that. I think honestly, what took the power away from that was unfortunately because they had to CG graft young Flynn,
Jeff Bridges,
young Jeff Bridges, and that's where I had zero problem with the fact that Clue was very CG. That made perfect sense to me in that world, and I loved that because it also, maybe I'm reading into this, but it got into that deeper thing, which Flynn actually addresses at the end of the film, which is that fight with who you were versus
Yes.
who you were.
Yeah. Yes.
I do wish that they had been more careful about crossing the uncanny valley with the flashback stuff, with Flynn the human and the father. Like they kind of got away with it as long as the lighting wasn't too strong on him, and as soon as they put him in full light, it was like, guys, it just pulls you out that little bit. But as far as the villain, Jason, I've got to admit, for me, it worked.
It's not that it didn't work, because again, as I said, I did like the reprogrammed Clue as a villain. It just didn't have any impact for me. It was like, there he is, and there was nothing to
gasp about,
build to, in my opinion, really. I mean, other than you knew that Flynn and Clue were going to have a encounter. I mean, there was that, and even that didn't satisfy exactly.
No, I thought that was so brilliant. I mean, well, when Sam thought that Clue was his dad, man, I bad worded all over the place. It wasn't pretty.
Do I need to pull out the guitar sound again?
You know what? If I didn't contain myself, you'd just have a solo. So no, I'll behave.
You get a solo, yay!
The eruption. We could be listening to eruption.
It's that moment where he tells Clue, I didn't know, so you couldn't know.
Yes. What a great moment.
Deep. I mean, gosh, we were just talking about this, me and my husband, about that deep. Who we were 27 years ago isn't who we are now. And, so for I think the reason Flynn was able to stop him is because he realized that he was him. And so for me, that explosion, it's almost like that acceptance. I really felt like, we were going to go somewhere like, like almost The Search for Spock, but like, is 3 going to talk about where is Flynn now? And, has he been, assimilated into the system?
Yeah. And has he integrated all those
I'll be
himself?
I'll be fully honest. This could, the flaws with Legacy for me could be my expectations. I will certainly say that that's possible, because everything you guys are saying is true, that those moments had, they're deep, they're meaningful. But for me, everything, again, left me a little bit wanting in Legacy. Like, yes, but more. Yes, but too soon. Yes, but what now? Things like that. And that mostly, plus, again, it didn't look as cool. I shouldn't say it didn't look as cool. It looked very cool. It just didn't look as in the computer world as the first one. So that kind of took me out of the thing a little bit, where I was like, are they really in a computer? What,
Yeah.
And again, so that's the thing. It was a good story. It looked great. It just didn't have the same punch for me that Tron did.
Well, going back to last week, when we were talking Neverending Story. To me, I found Neverending Story to be the perfect movie. And when they made a sequel, it might have been better than I think it was, but I don't think it was. But the fact that that first one was so perfect, you're right. But the fact that first one was so perfect, you cannot live up to that in your mind. And to me, Neverending Story was absolutely perfect. So therefore, a sequel could never do that. And I think we're kind of seeing the same thing with Tron with Jason, is because he loves Tron 1 so much that it's hard to live up to that that feeling and wonder that you get on the first one. And this is something we see a lot as geeks, I think.
Yeah, and I was
we have
so
what we're
excited to see Legacy. I was so jacked to see Legacy.
Sometimes it's
And
worse.
yeah, probably. Yeah, that's probably it.
Sort of like Star Wars. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Those are
Yeah.
bad.
Everything you're
though.
saying is valid, Jason. But I don't necessarily agree with you on all points, but I can 100%
okay.
see your perspective.
Yeah. No,
Mhm.
and I completely understand. I think everyone should, at least if you haven't, checked out the original Tron before you watch Uprising, then watch Uprising because that'll twist
And
your
then
mind a
makes it
little
so
bit.
much
Legacy after
better.
that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
And if
No,
they do make a 3, I'm right there. Trust me, I am totally right there. I mean, with all the same excitement because I love the Tron
Mhm.
universe. I mean, I am a
and I
fan
think
all
I
the
think
way.
you're so right, Jason, because in my mind, like we as friends that hung out in our little Nerdist communities, we talked about Clue coming back literally as a villain.
Mhm.
And so when it happened, we were like, yes, because these are conversations that we had. And to bring out my geekiness even more, but my friend
Hey,
created
girl, too late.
Love you, Courtney.
You're on a show called I Heart Geek.
Right?
Come on now.
But my friend created a D&D Tron. And so it was
Oh,
Nice.
so much fun. And
oh,
it was brilliant.
oh, my heart didn't get to play
And
that. Oh my
right.
goodness.
But so, because Clue is codified likeness utility. So he is Flynn. And
Mhm.
so in our little game, Clue became a bad guy. And
Yeah.
so for me, when it worked so good. It worked.
So you probably have grounds to write Disney for royalties. You should get on that.
Right. Well, I didn't make it, my friend.
Or to
did,
get sued by Disney.
Or
Yeah.
get sued by Disney. Right, exactly.
but-
She didn't say Tron, she said Frawn.
It's the French
Throne.
version.
Okay, so as I always like to do on these movie episodes, we're going to do grades. We're going to do this one as your first view of Tron, what your grade was, and then we're actually going to do your grade right now of the entire series. So the good and the bad, put it all together. What do you average out? Let's start with Courtney.
I'm gonna go with the A for my first viewing of Tron because I loved it so very much.
Mhm.
And all three I'm gonna give an A right now as well because I love the continuation of the original story in Uprising and in Legacy. And like I said, the first thing I watched, even before Mandalorian, the first thing I watched on Disney Plus was Tron.
Nice.
And that's what I was really looking forward to watching. I'm like, I'm watching Tron. That's gonna be the first thing I
Same.
watched.
It's the first thing I
Christina,
watched
you're,
on Disney
you're
Plus, too.
dying. Go ahead. What is your grades?
Oh no, I was telling me too. That was the first thing I watched. A plus, A plus, A plus. Obviously I have a freaking tattoo that's Tron. And
It is on our page. You should take a
yes,
look,
you
people.
should check it out. And I think I'm gonna take a picture now that it's a week out because the swelling's gone, and I'll post that too. But no, it spoke to us at our 13 years old and now older, but it spoke to us about the future. And that's what I love is even the whole story arc and the cast that they put together for each piece are brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant.
Nice. So tell me, what do you got? What do you grade it at?
When I first watched it, it was definitely an A. It was so groundbreaking and just really spoke to me for the first film. As an adult, honestly, the first film is more of a B. Don't hate me, but I think it's because of being a professional. S- there are certain acting styles that are a little harder for me to get behind just because the script, not the story, but the script, the lines they had weren't enough to cover up some of the really not so great acting style of the time,
You are
shall we
just like,
say.
wow, you're shining it as you go through. It's
Yeah, I
amazing.
know. But it's just stuff that I couldn't get away from, and then some of the But I mean, it's one of those things where it's like I recognize what it was, and right now I still enjoyed it rewatching it. And then Legacy is definitely an A for me. I loved it. I thought it was so fun and stunning. But when you look at the whole arc, the whole thing is an A for me because I think Tron was completely appropriate for the time that it came out and groundbreaking and incredible. And we watched the growth so that when we hit Legacy, it made perfect sense to me where they were
Yeah.
in that story. And I think that's a real tribute to those writers.
Jason?
C+. Sorry, different movie.
We just went to The Wizard of Oz.
No, I
Right.
went to Christmas Story. That's what I went to. Dub should know that.
You'll poke your eye out, kid.
Yes, exactly. Tron, A+, then A+ now, the first movie. No surprise there based on what I've said on this. The entire universe, I would give an A-. The minus being the shortcomings that I, based on my own expectations or things that are real, that I think exist in Legacy.
Nice.
But still, again, a very, very awesome universe. One of my favorite all-time, universes for sure.
Very good. My grade when I first watched it is a C+. I look back and I have a lot more appreciation for it. But for the entire series, because of the strength, especially the older ones, and the appreciation for the groundbreaking work that it did, I will give it a B+ for the whole series. Now, okay, I'm going to let everybody in on a secret here. We had some possibility of doing some advertisers. If you would like for us not to be doing commercials all the time during the show, you need to go to our Patreon, www.patreon.com, type in iHeartGeek, become one of our Patreons. There is actually benefit to it, and we won't be interrupting your shows 10,000 times to
Yeah, we will.
talk about hiring people or whatever else that people talk about. But we had some opportunities, and we would really rather keep this as a strictly, the advertising we do is just to our friends and to just to the iHeartGeek community.
Our extended geek family.
Yes. So jump on the Patreon. It's totally worth your time, and you watch the commercial. You know what you get out of it. It's worth it. It's good. So, Tommy, tell us about our favorite charity real quick.
Broadway Hearts. We are, y'all know who we are, but for those of you who are new, we are Broadway performers that bring interactive music to kids in families and hospitals and do all kinds of fun stuff. And you can check us out at BroadwayHearts.org.
Outstanding.
Very awesome.
We love it.
We love it. And until next time, I'm Dub. I'm here with, let's see, who do I want to do this as today? Let's do Courtney as Flynn. We have the Cheeky Chi who fights for the users. We have Jason playing the role of Bit today.
Yes.
And we have Satomi who's being Cora, and I am Master Control. Catch you next time. Keep on geeking on, guys.
You have been listening to the latest episode of the iHeart Geek Show. Make sure you visit our website at www.iheartgeekshow.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you check us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And keep on geeking on to all of you geek rock stars.